Last week, we had the president of the San Antonio Police Officers Association, Detective Mike Helly, on to talk about his fears about collective bargaining being done away with. Our two guests actually saw that conversation and wanted to give their 2 cents worth. So we are joined by a couple of people from a group called Fix SAPD. Ananda Tomas and EJ Pinnock join us. Talk a little bit about what Fix SAPD is all about, if you would.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. So, first off, we are focused around accountability, plain and simple, and removing barriers to police accountability here in San Antonio. We are currently petitioning to put on the ballot in May 2021 the repeals of local government chapters 174 and 143. 174 deals with collective bargaining rights. And 143 deals specifically with police discipline and arbitration, the use of arbitration.
EJ, I'll put this question to you. I think the conversation about policing right now is too often put into 2 categories. Either you're pro-law enforcement or you are anti-law enforcement. But there's a lot of room in between those 2 thoughts. So how do you categorize Fix SAPD? Is this against law enforcement? What would you say to that?
No, not at all. Not at all. Law enforcement plays a crucial part in public safety, and we're 100% for continuing. We're not looking to overthrow the system, but what we are for is a common sense solution. So 65% of San Antonians agree with us. What we should look at is police accountability. When an officer does something wrong, they should be held accountable. It's something that's true for everyone, and that should include police officers.
What kind of response have you gotten? I know that you have to get a number of petition signatures to get this on the May ballot. How have you been doing so far? What do you need to reach, and how close are you?
So 174 specifically needs 20,000 signatures. 143 needs close to 80,000 signatures to get on the ballot in May. We just started petitioning a couple weeks ago. We are well over 1,200 signatures so far. We're going to head into early voting full force. We're going to be at polling locations and all around the city. We've had a lot of excitement around this. The recent Bare Facts poll has shown that San Antonians agree with us that there have been many barriers to accountability and holding officers accountable due to some of these laws and portions of the collective bargaining agreement.
And we should mention, too, that there are a lot of details in Chapter 143 and 174. So if people want to look those up, we've got a lot of resources on our website, Fix SAPD. I saw them on your website as well. I want to ask you, we've had the police chief on this very segment who has talked about his thoughts on these 2 chapters and how he thinks state law as well needs to be changed. So what does that say to you that we have the chief of police who in some ways is agreeing with what you all are pushing for?
Yes. So I think the police chief and us are in alignment that these laws protect bad officers. Good officers don't need them. And that really by holding police officers more accountable, we're not just protecting our citizens, but we're protecting our good officers. We're protecting and upholding the name of SAPD and their own accountability measures. And so this definitely aligns. Just like EJ said, this is as much pro-community and public safety for the citizens as well as the officers.
EJ, how did you get involved? Why did you say something clearly needs to be done? Is there a moment in time when that happened, or have you held these thoughts for a while?
Well, I've always been interested in terms of not only just, oddly enough, public safety unions and how they work and what effects they have on the overall state of the city. But with this, I saw when the protest started with George Floyd, I was talking with my sister, and I thought, these 2 laws, they're not something that are well known, but they're things that have a really huge impact. One thing that really got me thinking was that Washington Post report that showed San Antonio was first in the nation in terms of officers that are rehired after being fired. And our numbers show that it's actually gotten worse since 2017, which is when that report came out.
What's one thing that you would say to somebody who's on the fence on this whole issue about what Fix SAPD hopes to accomplish? I mean, when you're handing out these petitions, what are you saying to people?
Yeah, I mean, these petitions in the end are simply to put this on the ballot in May so that San Antonians can revisit these laws. These laws were brought in decades ago. One of them, 143, before the Voting Rights Act, before people like myself and EJ were even able to vote on these. We know that policing has changed to be 21st century policing, and it's time to give San Antonio a voice and a choice on what they think policing should look like and how they want their police union and their police force to look like. So that's all that a signature is. We encourage everybody to sign because it's about taking this into our own hands as a city.
Ananda Tomas, EJ Pinnock with Fix SAPD. Thanks so much for being with us.
And I want to ask one last question here. It's fixsapd.org is your website, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. All right. I appreciate both of your time today.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.